Unknown Thought is made possible through the generosity of sponsors who care about people. IC Savings Bank, Ready Honda, and Corey's Clothiers. I'm here with Diane Flacks today on another episode of Unknown Thought. Diane is an author, actress, mother, and let's start talking about marriage. What's happening in your life?
Well, I am married. I've been married for, 7 years, and together with my partner for 14 years. We decided, my partner is a woman, and we decided to get married when Harper got in. Mm-hmm. Because we're sort of like, we don't need to get married. We already have a kid. Like, we're like cool. And then Harper got in, and we thought, wow, we realized how revolutionary it was that same-sex couples could get married. And we realized how important it was. And so we just did it at City Hall, and we had our family and our 2-year-old who was just hanging on. Every picture, he's hanging on to me. He does this thing where he puts his finger in your eye. I don't know what it's a comfort. So every picture, it's like, I'm like this. But it was great.
That's great. And did you, being a sensitive Jewish thinking woman, did you feel that sanctity in relationships is far more important than just having a choice of whether some relationships are okay for the government and some are not?
First of all, I'm not very sensitive, but I think the biggest impetus for us was realizing how law can lead thought and can lead behavior, and understanding that being able to say that you're married, you don't even realize. Like, we started off, my partner is kind of like, hardened, revolutionary, activist politically in terms of fighting for rights. I've always felt, my biggest causes are as a woman, as a Jewish person, and then I guess as my awareness of myself opened up, then it was gay issues. And I realized that, I had to sort of understand that it's not about sort of activism in a really provocative way. If you have something like marriage, then nobody can take that away from you. You really do win something. You really do lead a change in thought. And little kids, when my son says, well, my parents are married, I don't know, it's just like, other kids sort of go, oh, okay, well then that's that, and it's very helpful.
So the assumption we're making is that marriage is marriage and relationships are relationships, and husbands, wives, 2 women, 2 men, you still face the same challenges that every other couple does.
Yeah, but we can share clothes, though.
Yeah. You're the same size.
Yeah, we've been up and down, yeah.
So multiple wardrobes. Yeah. But you've reared children together, and you face some significant challenges. Yes. Tell me about them.
Well, our second son, we have our eldest son is now almost 8, and our second son is 3.5. And when he was born with 2 very complicated medical conditions. One is called an omphalocele, where all his abdominal organs were growing outside of his body. The other is a heart condition called tetralogy of Fallot, and he needed open heart surgery when he was 6 months, two open heart surgery. And it has been it's been a longer road than I could possibly imagine, and it has been full of challenges. And I mean, we've been so lucky to have the support of our family and friends. And we lived at Sick Kids for almost his first year, which was, I have this. I tell you honestly, I felt like I became an atheist at Sick Kids, which you'd think would go the other way, because I was always kind of sitting on the fence about what do I really believe, and when Jonathan came out of his second open heart surgery, which he had to have because the first one was a disaster in some ways, the nurse comes out of the OR, and I look at her and I say, so how is he? And she says to me, do you have faith? And then she suggested I pray for him. And I thought, I am asking you a medical question, and you're telling me, asking me, do I have faith? And in that moment I realized, you can't say maybe. I look down and I see all the parents shuffling in the atrium, exhausted with their kids, or the kids who are going through chemo, and I realized I can say yes or I can say no. And because I couldn't really say yes, I had to say no. I have faith in people like you. I have faith in your talents. So why don't you tell me how my son did, And to this day, I feel more Jewish than I could possibly have felt before. I feel like the tools I have as a Jewish person have allowed me to survive this and to cope. But I don't believe, I don't know how much I ever did believe, but I certainly don't believe in God as an intervener. I don't believe that praying to God is going to help your child survive cancer or anything. I understand why people do it. I appreciate when people did it for us very much. I appreciate kindness and compassion. But does it help? I don't think so. So, but at the same time, the chesed and compassion I believe more strongly in than I ever had.
I think that the idea of chesed, compassion, kindness, our ability to believe in the human spirit as healthy and not simply benign, but actually actively in pursuit of goodness. When a child is on an operating table and a surgeon has 3 hours to work and they have a date and they want to get to their date and they need a 4th hour to save that child's life, and they do, that's where God shows up. That's the godliness. Yes. The idea that God is guiding the surgeon's hands, I think, is fairly juvenile. But the idea that you can have faith, what you can have faith in is in human nature wanting to do good when it's challenged. So that's when, if someone would say to me, do I have faith? I have faith in goodness. I have faith in kindness. I have faith that most people, under the right circumstances, will do the right thing, even at personal cost.
I believe that too. Yeah. I believe that greatly.
And I don't think that it's an atheistic thing. I think it's a retraction and a retreat from youthful faith, the idea that I just believe and somehow I get a reward for it, to the mature view, which is, in order for me to have faith, I have to know what I'm having faith in. I have to have a connection to it. Experience and age teaches you whether you can or cannot have faith.
It's true. You feel like there's something, the big guy who gives us presents, idea of God.
It's not Santa Claus.
It's not
Eliyahu Hanavi.
No. And I felt, I think sometimes when you're in a situation, it's really interesting when you're in a situation of crisis, how people approach you. And people understand when it's about your child. The people have been tremendously kind, but no one knows what to say. It is the nightmare, right? So you get a lot of platitudes, like God doesn't give you any more than you can handle, things always happen for a reason. And in those moments, I was so glad that I was Jewish, because I could go, okay, not listening. It doesn't make sense to me.
I was asked to offer some comfort for a family who had lost a very young child to a brain tumor. And I talked about this artist, I don't remember his name, it might come to me, who talks about, he painted this image of a ship in a storm. And it was so powerful. And the story goes that the way he was able to paint it so powerfully, he went to the captain of the ship and said, I want you to take me out in a storm. And he said, I can't. He said, why not? He said, you'll fall overboard if you're outside. He said, I want you to lash me to the mast and don't untie me until the storm is over. And he goes into the storm, and he survives, and he comes back and he paints this brilliant painting. Yeah. And the truth is that when we're lashed to the mast, we're completely at the mercy of others. And the only faith we can have in is that the ropes will hold us.
This is what I love about Jews. The stories. The long allegories that actually do. We were doing this play Yehud, and our consultant, who's an Orthodox woman, every point she wanted to make was precipitated by an incredibly long story about, even there was one about a dishwasher. And I thought, what is the point of the story? But then it's visceral, because an image like that of the guy lashed to the mast, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and that was the great, brilliant twist in the Coen brothers movie, A Serious Man, is that the rabbi tells this, or the story is being told, and it actually has no relevance whatsoever. So the most un-Jewish thing you could do is to tell an allegory forever and not make a good point.
Yes,
but I want to say,
painful.
Diane, you made a great point today, and being here made a great point, and I'm just delighted that I got to speak to you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nice to have you here. Everyone says nowadays, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. What's spiritual? Judaism had another word for it. It's called holiness. What does holiness mean? Kedusha. The word kedusha means to be separated and apart for a specific purpose. Spirituality is where we separate the physical from the beyond physical, the spiritual, and then we kind of live on a higher plane. That's what people mean when they say spirituality. And it takes its many forms, but I want to share with you the truth about holiness. Holiness is not a set of actions or behaviors. Holiness is a pheromone. And a pheromone is caused by what you've internalized and what's become deeply ingrained in your consciousness and subconsciousness. And the pheromone is a natural byproduct, a natural scent of your internal, not your external. Judaism and religion attempts to take all the good and wonderful spiritual behaviors and condense it into a form that allows us to internalize them. And once we internalize them correctly, we will suddenly, on a spiritual level, those who are tuned into it can start to detect a pheromone of holiness. That's how you know when you're in the presence of a good or a bad person. Those who are tuned in can sense it easily. So this pheromone of holiness means you can't fake it. If you have not internalized social justice, moral justice, kindness, compassion, selflessness, charity, love, respect for the environment, respect for others' environments, respect for the spiritual environment, respect. If you have not internalized it, the nose knows. The spiritual nose will not detect the scent of holiness, and you are not holy. Holiness is internal, not based on external behaviors. You can act any way you want, but if it's not internal, you'll never be able to recreate the natural, beautiful, holy, or spiritual pheromone that we all so badly want to live with. Do good, be good.